Hi, Steve. Good to see you.
Bailey, it's been a few minutes since we've exchanged messages on Teams.
A few minutes. Yes, exactly. Um, well, I'm really excited to have you here today, and let's just give people a couple minutes to join before we get started. So, in the meantime, I'd love to ask you if you're excited about HR Tech next week.
I am very excited about HR Tech. I have not attended an HR Tech since 2017.
Okay.
And back then, I was with another company. We were in the startup booth. And that was when bots, chat bots were first starting. Most of the companies who were in that booth era no longer exist. And that
Oh,
shows you the volatility of
yeah.
the HR tech, TA tech market. So, um, but like any technology, it shifted. It's reinvigorated itself. New ideas came into play. So, this show, if it's anything like RecFest was last week in Nashville, there's going to be a lot of AI infusion.
Yeah, that is what we've seen in some of our research. So
And it's not,
interesting.
and it's not, and it's not just our dice research
Sure.
that shows that. It's every there's not a single HR tech, TA tech analyst who isn't juggling, you know, balls of AI
Right.
in terms of the platforms that they're assessing and looking into. It's
Yeah.
almost as if it's the technology du jour. As long as your platform has some infusion of AI in it,
Yeah.
ranging from machine learning, which is you know really just it's still a shade of AI, to pure unadulterated uh, um, Skynet type of
Hmm.
activity, you're going to get some play.
Yeah.
And the challenge is just how long that play is going to last.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, for anyone who just joined, I'm here with Steve Levy. My name is Bailey Jost, but I just asked Steve. Steve is going to be at HR Tech with Dice next week. So if you're going to be there, make sure you find a moment to chat with Steve. Um, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, but today we are talking about something a little bit different. So um, we are talking. I'm just going to go ahead and so, Steve, I'm going to give you just a quick intro. So, my name is Bailey Jost, and I work at Dice, and we are working really hard to get insights and learning to technical recruiters and even in recruiters who are in the technical space, working on capturing this top tech talent. And Steve is here. Steve, would you actually mind giving yourself just a quick intro? I think you'll
No,
do a better job.
I would not, and I'm not sure I would do a better job. Number one, because I really dislike speaking about myself. Uh, I'm Steve Levy, a talent advisor here at DHI, covering both Dice.com and our site clearancejobs.com, providing a unique industry perspective on talent acquisition. I was an engineer for 15 years before crossing over to the dark side into TA. I've now been in TA for 38 years and have run sourcing. I've run TA. I've been somewhat of an innovator in techniques and strategies and tools to find, engage, and assess people. I've spoken at most of the major and less major conferences around the world and written many an article on all things related to TA, and particularly one of the topics at hand this year, uh, how AI and talent acquisition mix together. And really, it's not just talent acquisition; it is HR as well, because
Mm,
there are many aspects of any profession that can benefit from efficiencies. Is a nice way of saying it. So
mhm.
this is something. If you want to talk technology and human resources, TA, you will have my ear any day of the week.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Steve. I'm really excited to have you here. Yeah, so we're going to be talking. First of all, I mean, one of the things that Dice has been working on, and every year we launch a tech sentiment report where we we survey tech professionals and HR professionals and get kind of a sense for what the tech hiring industry is looking like. And one of the things we found out of that is there's a lot of mixed sentiments. There's optimism, there's pessimism, there's some excitement, there's some interest in switching new roles, and generally just a sense of a lot of change and discomfort. And so something that Steve and I are going to be talking a lot about today is how can the technical recruiters take this data and look at the mindset of tech professionals and use that to kind of make those really human connections, especially when AI is such a heavy topic of discussion right now, and so much is changing, and a lot of recruiting is kind of broken. There's just a lot of discomfort with how the process goes. How can you as a recruiter be a really human voice in that and be kind of an advocate for the tech professionals that you interact with? So we'll be talking about data from the tech sentiment report, and then we're going to be having that discussion and what you can do with it and how it can help you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started into that. So our tech sentiment report, we released it yesterday. I believe there's a link in the chat if you want to read it, but we have 4 chapters. Today, we're focusing mostly on the economic outlook chapter and the sort of high level feelings of what is going on. And just to give you some background of where this data comes from, we conducted this survey in June to tech professionals and also HR professionals. We have got a lot of responses. We take most of the data from the report and we kind of segment them out. So we segment out AI professionals and get a sense of how they're feeling. We segmented out HR professionals. And then we also, for the body of the report that talks a lot about people's satisfaction with their jobs and what they're looking to do next, most of that data comes from tech professionals who are currently employed, to sort of take away some of that discomfort and kind of the bias that would come from a set of people who are unemployed. So just wanting to give you guys a sense of where this data came from. So I'm going to dig into real quick just some of the findings that we have. Steve, feel free if you want to jump in at any point to just kind of leave a comment on any of this data, but I'm going to run through the data so that we can get to the real meat of this discussion and just talk about what it means. Mm-hmm. So a couple of things. So tech professionals are definitely feeling the struggle of the industry. And it is impacting their mindset. So 60% more tech professionals lost their jobs this year than last year. And if you were around last year was not a great year either. So it's just been a difficult year for tech professionals. 19% of tech professionals who, and specifically tech companies, seem to have had most. So companies within the tech industry were most affected by that. And that's 19% compared to 11% of tech workers who worked in other industries. And additionally, there's 18% more unemployed tech professionals actively job searching right now than there were in 2023. This is unfortunate for tech professionals, but this is a huge opportunity if you're a recruiter. It means that there are a lot more people floating around looking for jobs that you can hopefully source for new roles. So a little bit of positive thing there.
Well, another positive thing, just jump in real quickly. There's a website called layoffs.fyi, layoffs.fyi, and during the COVID layoffs and post-COVID layoffs, and this site was heavily leaning towards tech companies. Companies would post a layoff list with all contact information. Mm-hmm. It was one of the easiest ways for tech people to get jobs. You know, so out of this horrible situation comes really a rainbow in that it was just easier to contact them. Yeah. And that was just an entrepreneur put that site up. It's a fabulous site, layoffs.fyi.
Yeah, that's a great, and it's really useful, easy to use. You can segment it by industry and location, and I love that website. Great call out, Steve. Awesome. So one thing that we also noticed from this is that despite the fact that it's been a really hard year for tech professionals, they're not just sitting there being sad about it. There's a lot of mixed pessimism and optimism. At about the same rates as last year, 31% of tech professionals are optimistic about how the state of the economy right now, and that's about an equal share of those people are feeling pessimistic. So if you're contacting people, you can kind of count on about either way. They're either feeling optimistic or pessimistic, and about an even split. Just 20% of younger tech professionals, however, are feeling optimistic. So it is worth noting that people age 18 to 34 feeling a lot more pessimistic than the older set of tech professionals. Now, there's a lot of things we could speculate about this, but one thing we could speculate is that this is their first opportunity to experience the volatility of tech. A lot of these tech professionals were not around in previous years where things have been rougher. So this is just their first time, so maybe they're feeling a little bit more pessimistic. I don't know. Lots of different reasons why, but I think that that's something to note. But it is also really encouraging. 80% of tech professionals overall expect the industry to continue to grow. So not only are they expecting the tech industry to continue to grow over the next 5 years, but they're planning to stay in tech. We're not seeing an exodus from tech right now, despite the challenges that they're facing. So your source pool of tech professionals is still absolutely out there, planning to stay and planning to grow their careers where they are. And in fact, even those that are many of them who are still employed are looking to make a job change this year. So despite the conditions being the way that they are and fear of layoffs and concern, tech professionals seem just that 67% of them are looking at new roles. So huge opportunity for outreach to cold calling and outreach to tech professionals in roles, but also just kind of knowing that this says there's some dissatisfaction with their current roles, so you can kind of take advantage of that.
And I'll add Ash Bailey. This is what happens when we have Ash and with both you on the thing. Is what's going to happen, and this is the the thing that people don't really like talking about in public, but return to office is going to shake up the number of people looking for work.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Yeah.
And so that lends itself towards the uniqueness of your workplace and how it appeals to the innate needs of the people you covet. Keep that in mind, because that's going to be a big change come 2025.
Yeah, that's a great point, Steve. A really great point. And most 90% of tech professionals, this is data from the second chapter of our tech sentiment report. So you can sneak peek that now, but 90% of tech professionals still prefer remote work. And the reasons that they do prefer remote work is because they feel that they are more efficient. It's cheaper for them. And it's just, it's overwhelmingly prefer remote work. So your differentiator there, if that is one of your differentiators, can be huge. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about HR professionals. So as I said, we also surveyed HR professionals for this report to get a sense of how they're feeling. And HR professionals are way more positive about the industry than tech professionals. In fact, 79% of them have a positive outlook on the tech industry. There's also a lower rate of layoff for HR professionals than general tech professionals. Only 4% of HR professionals reported that they lost their job this year, compared to 16% of tech professionals. We're expecting hiring to increase in 2024. 70% of HR professionals said that they expect it to grow up, and this rate is even higher for high demand roles like AI. So, yeah, awesome. Cool.
And I'll also verify that in speaking at conferences and hearing where the pain points are and the number of questions that are geared towards how do I find these people. I mean the pain and the pain of sourcing people is real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot of mixed sentiments going around. So Steve and I are going to talk about it. And if you just hopped into this stream recently and you didn't get to the intro, Steve and I we're going through data about from the tech sentiment report that Dice just released, and we're talking specifically about how recruiters and HR professionals can make that human contact with the tech professionals that they're trying to reach in the middle of so much change and turmoil, and also kind of in the middle of this AI surge. The humanization of the recruiting industry is a discussion at the moment. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So some of the things, this slide, Steve, we'll just leave it here. But I have some questions for you that I'd like to get this discussion going. So first of all, I would like to, so as you said earlier in this program, you've been recruiting for 38 years. And that has covered, a huge share of what tech looks like now. So you've seen most of it.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could share some examples of major shifts in the job market that you've seen over the course of that time, and then how you've seen recruiters successfully adapt to those changes.
Well, let me see. If I go back so far when dinosaurs were roaming the planet, but no, I was. I'm not ashamed to say it. I graduated from college in 1980, and back then, engineers. I was an engineering degree, Tau Beta Pi National Engineering Honor Society. The fact that I can remember that is an achievement in and of itself. But back then, my first, I used my computer programming experience was on, and ask your parents about this because they'll shake their heads. Yes, was on IBM 360 key punch machines, the computer cards. That's how I started. And I remember working at a company in 1984, 83, 84, when the first personal computers came on the market. I mean, these were about 42 pounds a piece. It had maybe this has 50 to 100 times more power than that original
Right.
personal computer. This is not an ad for Apple. But there were back then some of the jobs were computer disk repair people, operators, things of that. And the computer operators, data entry, and they're still data entry people, but it's different now. And recruiting back in those days, and you laugh at it, it's about as archaic as roll down windows in cars and rotary phones. We had, and I've never taken a single recruiting course. I don't have a single recruiting certification. I learned by thinking like an engineer. But when I first started, we had 3x5 index cards. We had a big Rolodexes. We had lead groups. People would steal company directories and sell them to other people. And ironically, one of the people jumping in on this chat truly is one of my elementary school teachers. I got to give Bill Harper a shout out. But it was very, very mechanical. There were no cell phones. There weren't even pagers. You'd email people. You try to call them, get their phone, and call them on the phone. You could say there was more engagement, but it was still a shock back in those days. But so I've been through that. I've been through when the internet came on board, when Y2K when the world didn't end in the year 2000 because computers couldn't handle a certain date. And each and every time, some jobs go by the wayside. It's natural selection, if you will, for the workplace. But new jobs came on board. When Java was released in roughly, someone's going to correct me on it, 91 or so. It brought in a whole new world, a whole new type of programming. When we had most computers companies had IBM 4340s, 3090s, big mainframes that took up rooms, and now we have racks and blades and distributed cloud wherever the cheapest source of energy is. So like anything, any paradigm shift, old jobs leave, new jobs come back, people adapt. Recruiters weren't, running away with their tails between their legs and going down holes and cowering. They just, thank you, Lisa, for correcting on Java. See, my friends will correct me on Java. Um, and you just adapt. You just to find a way to adapt. The difference being nowadays, and again, I'm as technical as the next person. The one thing that, and when you talk to people as often as I do, and not just in TA, not just but across the spectrum of roles and levels, they're clamoring. Everyone's bemoaning the lack of the human touch. It's really as simple as that. And I think a line that I've used. I don't remember when I used it, but I started saying the more inhumanely we treat people, because the last 2 years, you remember the talk about recruiters ghosting people, not
Yeah.
hearing back, not getting feedback. And then the excuses that we're getting. I'm just too busy. I get too many applications, this and that. The more inhumanely we treat the people we covet, the greater the likelihood some of us are going to be replaced by non-humans.
Yeah.
And the fear of not knowing in our profession, I encourage anybody in TA. It's like FDR said in World War II, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And I spoke at a conference a few years back on courage. And in order to be courageous, you have to be able to confront your fears. So what do you fear about? If you fear about being replaced by an algorithm, then do something about it. I mean, it sounds crass and cold for me to say that, but I've been doing it here since since I came on board at DHI, and just showing people how these tools can actually help you. And they don't make you smarter; they make you more efficient. You still have to read it. You can't trust a machine yet, but you at least have to try.
Yeah.
And that, I think, the one thing that um, people are latching onto, this. The one LinkedIn user I don't know, it says, "Will AI reduce demand for developers?" And to a certain extent, yes, it might. I'm not saying it will. It might. I mean, my problem with the inculcation of AI into companies, well, they're saying, well, we don't, we're going to reduce the number of entry level employees that we have, which I think is the most thoughtless approach to AI. Because think about what it does. In order to be those who are experienced, and those who've developed an expertise and a knowledge base and heuristics, shortcuts to decision making, we were entry level people once,
Yeah.
and we learned. And if you're not going to hire people early in their career into companies, whether it's recruiters, whether it's developers, whether it's accountants, whether it's customer service people, whether it's doctors, who's going to be there when those edge cases? Those are the ones that define us as a society. How we handle edge cases, how we handle the situations that the machine is not capable of addressing yet.
Mm.
Because that yet is each time, with every innovation in software development, AI, machine learning, speed of computers, whatnot, nanotechnology, with each successive improvement, things get, the computers and machines will be able to do more,
Yeah.
but they can't show compassion. They can't read faces as well. Some of them can read. Some of them are doing a pretty good job, though, of reading faces. But the one thing to differentiate you as a recruiter, the recruiters out there, is how you treat the people you covet.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the golden rule. You do unto others as you would have unto you. Not that I'm a religious person, but that's the essence of what it is. If for all since beginning of 2023, anywhere between estimates from like 63,000 to 100,000 recruiters were laid off and were looking for work. And now they were bemoaning people ghosting them. Now they were bemoaning not being contacted by a recruiter. Now they were bemoaning not getting any feedback. These are the same people who were doing the same things when they were on the job.
Right. Yeah.
So it's going to help some people become better at what they do. The technical parts of the job, that's up to you to learn them. Tools can help you, but the human connection, that's the big differentiator.
And how do you have any tips for that, especially with so many tech professionals rolling through the layoffs right now? Like, do you have any tips for how you can be a humanizing, calming force to the tech professionals that you're encountering in the recruiting process? What does that humanity look like?
Well, in order to understand the humanity, we have to understand the inhumanity.
Right.
There is a sub-art on Reddit called Recruiting Hell.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
Bailey, I
seen
don't
that.
know, it's ugly. It's downright ugly. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really that simple. Don't be that person that
Yeah.
winds up as a meme, that winds up as a social media joke. It goes to the carpenter's maxim, measure twice, cut once. Don't send your whatever ATS you use, you can choose to send out a compassionate human message, or you can send one that says no reply. These no reply emails, the ones that say, we thank you so much. However, whatever it is, they don't give you're not given any feedback. And there's a
Right.
reason why that's not done. And by the way, it's not legal. Newsflash, show of hands in the audience. We've asked this at conferences. How many people have been sued for giving feedback? You know how many hands went up? Bailey, guess.
I'm
None. None. So these no reply emails. You'll see the line of thought. No one, don't reply. No one is monitoring this email. But gosh darn, join our talent community. I don't think so. Think about it. How
right.
would you take it? We don't want you, but do something for us.
Right.
Please. That's, just be human. Really. How would you feel? How would you feel how do you feel when it's done to you? It's not good, is it?
Mm-mm.
No. But that's really what it is. The first thing is be human. Find a way. I've seen recruit leaders. I've heard. I know them. Some who say we get a large number. We don't have time to respond to everybody. And I say you have technology. You can. You can, for example, when you do your intake session, your rec consult, whatever you want to call, you can pull from the hiring manager real deliverables, not qualifications. Qualifications are like a 70. You just got to pass it. Big difference between just passing and being valedictorian.
Mm.
The amount of work
Sure.
that's between those two is massive. Do performance, focused consults. That way that these are the deliverables. These are the things that you're going to have to deliver. A question I asked during intakes to the hiring managers in the first 90 to 180 days. What will a person have delivered, done, performed that tells you hiring them was the right thing to do? Surprisingly, many hiring managers have a hard time with that. So that offers up the opportunity to be talent advisors
Yeah.
and to not leave the room until you know what you're looking for. Don't be that person who has a hiring manager relationship with a hiring manager that has a hiring manager say, just send me all the resumes. I'll know it when I see it. Be the recruiter who says, well, if you can't describe it for me now, how will you know it when you see it?
Yeah.
It's not very complicated. Our job becomes hard when we decide to learn more about that which we're recruiting.
Yeah.
If you're a technical recruiter, and I can't believe I'm saying this, know what API stands for as one example.
Sure.
Know that. How do you know someone is good at what they do? You can't go with the feeling. I don't have ESP. I'm not a psychic. Plenty of people here in this house tell me that. Learn, educate. Go to the people who you're serving and say, can you help me understand what this means? Here, this is a message that I'm writing. Would you respond to this? Collaborate. Be a true talent advisor partner with the people you covet.
That's great.
It really is. I say this repetitively, but that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. I want to, Steve, do you have a couple more minutes?
I have
Great.
2 more hours.
I want to give the audience a chance. If any of you guys have questions on any of the data we covered or what Steve has been talking about, please drop them in the chat and we'll try to address them. I have another question for you, Steve, in the meantime, while we wait for those to roll in. But if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So something I think back to the way that recruiters are feeling right now. Do you have any strategies for how they can sit and stay grounded with all of the noise and all of the discussion about what's changing and threats to their job and questions about what recruiting and tech will look like in the next 5 years? How do you recommend that they can just stay grounded and be focused on what it is that they need to do a good job?
It's no different than when you're in your private life have challenges or issues. You have to speak to somebody. You have to find a cohort whom you can ask questions to. We have one that I'm part of. It's called Recruiter Therapy, and it works. And it's free. And that's all I can say about that. That's one element. But go online. There's nothing wrong with talking about unburden yourself with some of the challenges that you're facing. Take your whatever your favorite social platform is. And it doesn't have to be LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be Internet. Whatever you want. Call people up. Identify. Recruiting meetups, social groups in your area. That would be one. I know quite a few of mine. There's a solid one in Atlanta. There's a solid one in Dallas, Fort Worth. We have a Slack channel here in the New York area. Somewhere I have a list of all these, and I'll share them with people. But go to those. Ask questions. Talk people about. Share your techniques. There's nothing wrong with if you're open to work. Don't be ashamed of it.
Yeah.
There is the unfortunate battle online, particularly on LinkedIn, where people are excoriated for putting the open to work banner up. That's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life. Don't expect some sort of telepathic sourcing of your availability. You have to be out there. And there are some techniques that I can share perhaps at a later date with how recruiters who are job seekers, how they can get more eyeballs on themselves.
Sure.
But as far as what you can learn so you don't become for lack of a better word, a victim of AI, it's play with it. Try it. One of my favorite free sites is something called Grok, GROQ.com. It's a site where you can pick from up to 6 LLMs, and it's not ChatGPT. ChatGPT, the current version is paid, is a paid model. But you know what? It's good. It's more than good enough for you to try things and think about the processes that you use. Use these to write prompts to come up with things and see if it works. Change the words. Here's a good example of Bailey. Who's your favorite author? I'm putting you on
Who's
the spot.
my favorite author?
Who's your favorite author?
That is such a huge question. Oh, I hate it.
Okay, let's just pretend is it J.R. Rowling? Let's just go with Harry Potter.
Okay, I do love Harry Potter.
Okay, fine. So, if you, for example, many platforms have, AI, write messages with AI. You know what happens if you use these in almost all of them? You know what that first line is? I hope this email finds you well.
Almost every time.
That
Yes.
is the
Yes.
dumbest opening I have ever heard. Firstly, if it comes from a platform that's not an email, it's not an email. That notwithstanding, don't go into that. But imagine you're doing this. Imagine I'm looking for a marketing manager, and I see, who's this Bailey person? I see that they like on their other social posts because I cyberstalk them. I see they like Harry Potter. You go to your Grok and you say, write a 3-paragraph message to a person who is a Harry Potter fanatic. Especially I'll pick a character. I've never read the book. I don't know.
You've never read Harry
Hermione, what?
Potter. No, never mind. Hermione.
Hermione. In the voice of Hermione is written by J.R. Rowling, talking about this marketing manager job you have, and then and here's the job description, and paste the job description. It'll sound a lot like Harry Potter. And it's pretty neat and it's pretty cool. Try these things.
Sure. It's fun too.
And that's part of what it is. Learning this stuff is fun. And if you want to spend $21.53 a month like I do on ChatGPT, you can create some really fun pictures. And you can do a little bit more with it, as you have seen. But try stuff. That's it. Don't be afraid. Try. Ask for people who help. Think a little different. Reach out to every alumni of your college or your high school who are in a position that you might report to. I mean, think different. Don't just apply. The apply thing has become, particularly with AI being able to, automatically apply to 500 to 1,000 jobs, which really is one of the most inane uses of AI because it just makes it harder for us to go through them. People like me who read every single application, my team, every single application, because we know there are humans on the other side. But
Sure.
look, the more you can learn, the more you can self-educate, the more you can interact with people who are doing the things you want to do, the better it's going to be. Be active. Don't just sit back and apply.
So David just asked a question that I think is relevant to what you've been talking about. He's a former technical executive and hiring manager.
Yeah.
Now that he is himself an applicant, he's seeing a shift that's causing applicants to need to go to employer and personal websites that automate the experience. How do you have any recommendations for how it can be made more personal and effective in landing another
Yeah.
tech position?
I do. I mean, first and foremost, and David, connect with me, although I think we might be already. I am not a big fan of cover letters personally. In all my years of recruiting, I remember only one cover letter ever made me. I was dialing the phone before I finished the letter, and I'll share it with you just so you can see why. Maybe we can include that in some later missive. But what you can do on LinkedIn, for example, David, if you see a role that's of interest to you, and I'm sure you can find out who the CHRO or the head of TA is, or whomever the person might report to, write a post saying something about the industry, something about the job, something about the positions it's going to fill. Tag that person who you might report to. Tag the company. Hit return. Then a day later, look to see who's viewed your profile. Then connect with them, or call them if you've done you've been working for 17 years. You can do that. From a technical standpoint, I don't know what your focus is, but um, the thing to do is don't just focus on applying or connecting. Look at, particularly in the technical field, look at conferences. Look who's speaking at conferences. Look at the speaker list. Almost always they'll at least give you their LinkedIn profile, and then you can connect with them some way, shape, or form. But go at them with something other than this is who I am. You know, understanding their needs is it, and understanding the person, appealing to that person's um, ego, for lack of a better word, is a good way to get them to talk to you. David, you'll have to call me and I'll show you, and maybe we can, and Bailey, maybe we can film that.
Yeah, sounds good.
But that's what it is. Don't just apply. If you're just going to apply, you're the same. You're going to do the same thing that 85% of other people are going to do. They're just going to apply. And then when I review these, I do my best to see you in 3 dimensions. But if I don't see a concordance between what my real problems are, and that's on me. That's on me to articulate what the job is really going to be about. The job is not about, 12 to 15 years of experience. The job is not about great communication skills. Come on, those are always there. You don't have to write those. But the job is about scale. For David's standpoint, from technology, it's about scale. It's about latency. It's about reliability. It's about security. It's about
Sure.
improving production metrics. We don't delve into that enough in recruiting to be able to, ask a question like this. And it's one of my favorite questions when a hiring manager is adamant that I must have 12 to 15 years of experience. If you, during your intake, have identified the real deliverables, then you're obliged to ask a question. Bailey, I know you say this job requires 12 to 15 years of experience, but given the specific problems that the role is going to be asked to solve, if I find someone with only 8 years, but they've done this, then you don't want to speak with them. Am I right? And you will see the manager snap real quickly. And they say, no, I really do want to. Oh, go. So the 12 to 15 years isn't an exact requirement anymore.
Sure.
It's being a talent advisor.
Yeah. No,
That's what will get recruiters to that next level of dependability and love. It's a good loving relationship when you're like that.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Steve. And thanks to the people in the chat for helping enhance our discussion. I really appreciate it. I want to just share a couple upcoming events that we have. We are doing this. We're doing this again in a couple weeks. We will have Amy Heidersbach, our CMO, talking with Carmen Hudson, who is an author. She has written the recruiting playbook. And then, so that's happening on October 9th. Yep. Wow. Steve's got it right there. Awesome. I love that. Didn't even prompt him to do that. That just happened. And then we have our next, the last one in our series. We have Pam Portman and Alan Fliegelman. They will be talking about career growth. Pam and Alan lead the recruiter and the tech professional side of our DICE product. And they spend all day, every day in the weeds trying to focus on how to make the experiences of tech professionals better and how to make that experience move as smoothly and as best as possible. So they are always thinking about it. So they're going to be on talking about career growth and giving some advice to tech recruiters there as well. So thank you all so much for joining us. I'm really excited how this discussion went, and we look forward to many more, Steve. This was great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And anyone here, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, I will answer them. And I might even call you.
And Steve's going to be at HR Tech next week. So
I
maybe
will be.
in person.
Yes, and so will Carmen Hudson.
And so will Carmen. Absolutely. Carmen's going
And
to have
so and so, and so will Amy. And so will
No,
Alan.
I will not be there.
I didn't say you. I said, I'm sorry. I wish you were there, but
Okay.
actually Amy's going to be there.
Oh, okay.
Alan's going to be there. You know,
Awesome.
happy to talk to anyone. If you're a job seeker, you want to talk about the platforms, you want to talk how to get the most out of any platform, come see me.
Absolutely. Awesome.